That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Comic Reviews. Sorry this one's so late. Been late the last 2-3 weeks. It's doing wedding planning stuff, so I'm gonna try to get these out just on Wednesdays. Those are my goal right now. Once I'm consistent on getting it on Wednesdays completely, then we'll work on timing of the day. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started with the last thing I read, which was, it's a very Marvel heavy week right now, which is Black Panther number 3. I'm still not enjoying this. Ugh. It's doing a lot of things that I just flat out don't like. Like, I have a lot of trouble thinking of times that I am seeing this in a story and I'm enjoying this kind of element done. And so it's doing one thing in comics that kind of drives me nuts, where it's right from the get-go, we're just starting with arcing story. It's not just an arcing story, it's an arcing story that's arcing over from other Black Panther books. So if you had this came out roughly around, the first issue came out roughly around the same time as Civil War. So let's look at it as the perspective of, or from the perspective of someone who came out of Civil War, was like, oh man, Black Panther's cool. You know what? I'm going to go read comics about Black Panther. So they go to the comic store and they pick up Black Panther number 1. It's a new series, perfect jumping on point. They cannot possibly have any idea what's going on. No way. Because I don't even know what's going on, and I at least understand how comics work and vague things about the Marvel Universe on the whole. There's no way any person understands what's happening in this series. That hasn't been reading Black Panther for years, much less someone that just started reading comic books. So that's problem number 1. Problem number 2 is it's an ongoing, it's every issue so far has been another installment in the story. There's nothing that just functions on its own, so it's being written for trade right off the bat. That's always a problem for me. Just at least make your first issue stand on its own. Why is that hard? I just will never understand why a number 1 issue can't just be a story on its own. Say what you will about DC Rebirth, but all those number 1s stand on their own fairly well. And then 3, the third thing this book is doing that I just do not have the patience for, is it is having the heroic character, the protagonist, the one whose name is on the title of the book. It's having them just screw up and be outmaneuvered and outclassed and just beaten and kind of trumped, even though I'm tempted never to use that word again. But now that is the opportune word. The hero is being trumped at every turn. And don't get me wrong, I don't like stories where there are absolutely no stakes. The hero is going to win no matter what. I like some drama in my stories, but 3 issues in of Black Panther pretty much failing at every turn in one way or another, I just don't know why you would write him like that. He's the Black Panther. He's a badass. Why would you write him as a fuck-up? So suffice to say, I am not enjoying this at all. I may continue until the first story arc wraps up and see if there's some kind of big change that does it for me. But that is just, I can't tell you whether or not it's the exact opposite problem I have with Renato Jones, The 1%. That book, I cannot honestly tell you if it's good or not, because it is just so to my taste that I can't help but enjoy it. This, I can't tell you whether it's good or not because it's doing so many things that are against my tastes that there's no way I'm going to be able to enjoy it or look at it objectively. I'm just going to roll my eyes at it. Maybe it'll read better in trade. I don't know. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to Steve Rogers, Captain America #2. So they totally backpedaled on what they were doing with Cap being all Hail Hydra and stuff, and so it's this whole thing. Of course, Marvel just caved into the pressure. No. Like I called, I didn't think it would happen this quickly, but I'm not surprised that this is the case. And if you knew anything about comic books, you know that wouldn't have been the case. But anyway, as expected, Captain America is not really a Hydra agent. It's false memories. And if you were paying attention to literally anything but the last page of the first issue, you would have been able to pick up on that. I don't know why seriously, what it is just people read the last page. And if you're upset at comic books for having big soap opera-y moments and being annoyed with just the Oh Henry or the dun 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 kind of issue endings and twists and stuff, that's fine, that's understandable. I don't think you understand how comic books work if you're legitimately upset about that on a consistent basis. But whatever, you're allowed to be upset. No one can tell you you can't be upset about something. Always remember that, kids. But we have this explanation that's given, and actually makes a lot of sense. The cosmic cube that was cubic, once belonged to, or possibly was made by, Red Skull. And so Steve Rogers destroyed that cube at one point in time, and S.H.I.E.L.D. was holding on to the fragments, and that's where we get all the stuff that was going on in the Sam Wilson book. And once the cube became a sentient little girl, it sought out Red Skull, and is essentially been being raised by Red Skull for, I'm not sure on the time frame of that one. And also, I didn't know that Red Skull had telekinesis or telepathic capabilities. That was a new one to me. So yeah. But anyway, so we have Red Skull was raising her, and he found out she had the ability to implant memories and make people think that they were Hydra and shared the ideals of Hydra all along. And so he makes up a really big convoluted plan, and Nick Spencer kind of knows what he's talking about here, because he has Red Skull give this great little speech. What I need is a challenge, something that can truly transform the world and make it mine, something convoluted. So Nick Spencer's kind of aware of what he's writing. But anyway, so it's all part of Red Skull's plan to make Captain America think he's a Nazi, and remember himself as a Nazi. So there you go. Big fucking surprise that no one should be surprised about. Honestly, after all the outrage, I just wish they'd kept Cap being a Nazi. Just to piss people off. Good issue. Of the stuff I read this week, what was my other? It's up there. Black Panther is the only bad comic I'm reading this week, so I read this week, so you know, I don't like it when covers say something that will be in the book that isn't really in the book. Because on the cover, right there, it says, Hail Hydra, the secret history of Steve Rogers revealed. And it reveals how he's getting these false memories. But really, that reads more like it was supposed to be about, like, his history as a Hydra agent. And honestly, I probably would have rather read that. I would have liked if we waited an issue. Like, people were going, oh, Marvel's backpedaling on the whole Hail Hydra thing. No, that's clearly what this was written to do in the first place. But I'd maybe believe that they rushed this issue out in order to, cover for that. I don't want, it's certainly possible. And true to his word, it is actually Steve Rogers. He's not being mind controlled or it's not a clone or anything like that. It is legitimately Steve Rogers. He knows what he's doing. And implanting false memories is not mind control. There you go. Anyway, yeah, pretty good book. Didn't like it as much as the last issue. Didn't like it as much as the Sam Wilson book, but still pretty good book. Let's go ahead and move on to the only DC current book I have this week, which is The Legend of Wonder Woman, number 7. Now I like things in this, and one of the things I like about it is it's really cool opening scene as we get a newsreel of Wonder Woman in World War II helping fight the Nazis. And yay, skirt. Yay for a skirt. God, some of these pages are just fucking posters, though. They're fantastic. Anyway, so we get like really cool opening of basically like an old-timey newsreel of Wonder Woman, like saving people from Nazi leftovers after Paris was taken back. Looks like Cheetah's gonna come up in some way, shape, or form in this book, even if it's not full-on Cheetah mode. What else? Funny scene of Etta Candy wearing Wonder Woman's boots in the beginning. But the thing I really liked about this issue is my biggest problem with this book, and with most things that do Wonder Woman, and the thing I'll defend Azzarello for, is it read like the mythology. That's always going to be my favorite thing about Azzarello's run, is every single issue, like all the characters are the same kinds of characters from the original Greek myths. Zeus is a philanderer, Hera's a vengeful bitch, all kinds of stuff like that. And so the problem I have with a lot of Wonder Woman stuff is, and this is pretty much anything that does Greek mythology without actually understanding Greek mythology, is they go straight to Ares is the god of war and Hades is the god of the underworld, so obviously they're the bad guys. And that's, I've said it time and time again, but that's not what it was like in Greek mythology. Those were very passive characters in Greek mythology. Ares wasn't the god of war, Athena was, and Wonder Woman and Athena are usually like best buds, so unravel that one. Ares was the god of battle passion, of berserker rage, but it's that side of war. And Hades was the god of the underworld, but he didn't care about like anything. Hades didn't go and trick people into dying or anything like that, or try to kill people because he wanted their souls. He was gonna have them eventually, no matter what. So he just didn't care. He was a very passive character. There are only a couple stories that have Hades in them, and he's not usually doing all that much to... he's never going out and attacking Olympus or anything like that. So it's a very... It's a loaded notion that we have based on, Christian mythology about the devil. computer's yelling at me. That's where that perception comes from, and it usually gets put onto Ares and Hades. And so I really don't like that, and of course Zeus gets to be the all-loving High Father. And that seems what was going on in the earlier issues of this book, and turns out not quite. I mean, Ares and Hades are still the bad guys here, and so I still don't like that part of it, but they had the sense to show that none of the Greek gods are good guys, or at least Zeus isn't. Zeus and, let's see here, Dionysus, Poseidon, Hermes? Artemis? I'm just going to guess Apollo based on this panel. And Hephaestus. Oh, Hephaestus has a bionic leg. That's cool. Hephaestus was called the limp god. He was a cripple. But anyway, like what I really liked about this, sorry I keep getting off track, is Zeus isn't happy with the world anymore, and he wants a paradise. Ares wants to rule a world of war, which, again, not Ares, but still. Ares wants to rule a world of he created fascism is the idea. And so Zeus offers Wonder Woman, like, be my champion, blah, blah, blah. And she says, and what would you have me do as your champion, Zeus? Stop the resurrection of the Titan to protect the world? Nay, too long have we protected the planet from the Titan, and you have seen what the people have built in our absence. A world devoid of ancient magic, of people who have forgotten the gods who protect them. Once the champion of Ares is defeated, you, my champion, shall awaken the Titan and cleanse the world of life. Once its task is done, the Titan will move on. I would build a better world, one of controlled peace and eternal worship of our glory, and you shall lead as my general. And there's a really, like, apocalypse-looking kind of design for an evil Wonder Woman. And so Wonder Woman rejects him, obviously. And that, like, all her trinkets, if you will, are now useless because of that rejection. And now she has the opportunity for a happy life. Now, if that's what they're going with, and she's gonna somehow find a way to gain back her power and be Wonder Woman again, because right now she's just a really strong woman, since she doesn't have the magical trinkets. If that's what they're going for, if Zeus is evil, and assuming all the other gods on the Olympus have their own agenda, I'll be very pleased. But I have reason to doubt that's what's going to happen. Because right before all this stuff with the gods happens, Wonder Woman goes to attack this guy called the Duke of Deception, and she's holding the lasso of truth, which protects her from him having any ability to get into her mind and make her think she's seeing something else. But she's still pretty useless against him, so she tries to attack him and just gets kind of tossed around. And as she's tossed around, we see that she no longer has the lasso. And then all this stuff with the gods happens, and she wakes up and is at home, safe, with Etta Candy, and looks like she's going to have an opportunity for a happy life with Steve Rogers. So I have pretty good reason to believe that's not what's going to go down in this. Maybe Zeus will remain evil. If that's the part I want to keep. I have every expectation in my mind that in the next issue she's going to be having, or we're going to do kind of like a for the man who has everything, or Superman, whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow kind of thing, where she'll have to give up a perfect life in order to be the hero that the world needs. I think that's what we're probably going to see happen. Could be wrong. Maybe she'll go and find ways to become Wonder Woman again. Maybe this is really what happened. Who knows? I'm probably right if I'm going to call it, but we'll see. Either way, if they keep the Zeus thing, I'll be really pleased. I don't think they're going to... And it's just a general annoyance I have with things that use Greek mythology, is if you're going to write in Greek mythology, make them the same characters, because it just works so much better. In any case, so pretty good though. I really like a lot of the stuff going on in the beginning. It's really, really fun to see just, Wonder Woman as an old-timey newsreel thing. There's a good moment in the beginning that I quite liked. And you get to hear my 1920 or 1940s news reporter accent. Wonder Woman, can you tell us about yourself? You wear the American flag. Are you from the United States? And she said, I know, I'm amazing, right? She says, I wear it to symbolize freedom and strength of spirit, but I stand not just for America. I stand for all those who have good and truth in their hearts. I really like that. That's good. And then there's a fun image of Wonder Woman flying Etta Candy around, so that's cool. Also, little detail that I quite liked. Steve Rogers is, of course, a pilot. And so, pilot, World War II, gets to be a pilot again, kind of, sort of. He's got his own plane again, I should say. I really like that. Painting Wonder Woman on the side of the plane as a bombshell. That's really cool. I just really, really enjoy that. Steve's also very nervous around Diana. He doesn't, because of it's a whole thing. He's also very nervous around Diana, not knowing that she's Wonder Woman and stuff, so he's talking to her, and he walks her through the entire, I don't know how she didn't interrupt, but he walks her through everything she needs to know to take off, fly, and land a plane, and operate a plane. So I thought that was pretty funny, and a cool way to introduce the invisible jet, which I hope we do see. That'd be neat. Pretty good action scenes in this. I really like the art, though I'm not sure if this was intentional, or if this was just the structure of her face made her look young again. But in the first couple issues of this book, we had a young girl Princess Diana. And then a couple issues in, she got older. But the way they made her look younger was they gave her a bit more of a rounded face and stuff. And so in this conversation she has with Zeus, she looks like a little girl again. Whereas if you look at her face down here, she looks, it's a pretty big difference. So I'm not sure if that was just, coincidence of how she was drawn for that particular panel, that she kind of sort of looks more like the younger version of herself, or if it's pertaining to the conversation she's having, because at that moment they're talking about her mother and the chance for Diana to go home. So I'm not sure what's up with that. I don't know how I feel about it. Overall, I still really like this. My biggest thing against it is I like that they're trying to make Diana look not white. I just wish she didn't look orange. Just the skin tone, she looks like she's from Jersey. And that's my biggest problem. She looks like she just got a spray tan. But otherwise, I quite like it. Just something about that doesn't work for me. It's a very Frank Quietly art style, though. Very soft, soft line work, and it just feels very warm. All the colors really just have a natural warmth to them that I quite like, but that's better for you to experience by just reading the book yourself than me trying to describe to you. Zeus is drawn with big white beard. For the record, Zeus should have black beard, black hair. Just throwing that one out there. Okay. that'll do it for that issue. Moving along to Star Wars Darth Vader number 22. Man, tension is rising in this book. So Vader fights a Rancor, cybernetically force-enhanced Rancor. Or force equivalent. I don't know how to describe that. The Emperor is on the Executor. Dr. Aphra pulls some shit. Vader kills the Rancor. Vader kills Stargazer, the Void Gazer, sorry. The girl that was controlling the Rancor. Really neat. What else happens? And then the weird space whale thing comes out of hyperspace and attacks the Executor with Vader on it. So it looks like, you know, Silo has outmaneuvered everyone and has won the day. But like the Silo is working on the Executor and it looks like it's got traps on it. And the space whale lands right into it. So it's pretty much just building on further and further. The story is just building more and more and more. And that's cool. And I like it. And it reads really well. I don't know what else to say. It's just cool. It's fun. It's neat. It's got great action. It's got great drama going on. You can't get much more of a cliffhanger than that kind of ending. Silo has this great line. It's a shame to lose her. She was a fine vessel. She served me well. I will remember her fondly as the weapon that ended Darth Vader, because in Silo's mind there's no way Vader can survive that. But even though this is issue 22, I've now 25 issues before the book ends. Darth Vader's going to survive because he has 2 more movies to be in. Again, that's the biggest problem with reading stuff with these characters set in between the movies, is ultimately it cannot matter. It can ultimately serve no consequence. But this is doing a good job of feeding into the shift in character that we experience with Vader between episodes 4 and 5, and that I do really appreciate. Because he is on a rampage in episode 5, and this helps feed into where that comes from. Cool. Sorry, I don't have much to say about that book. Anyway, let's wrap up this week with, by popular request, Dark Knight, a true Batman story. And you know what? I'm really excited about this part. Okay? This is going to be so damn silly and stupid, but I swear it's the greatest thing ever. My favorite thing about this graphic novel: the slipcase off, dust jacket off. It's got a cover. It's got art on the cover. It's the same art too. I really like that about it. Different art on the back. I like the art on the back even more. I don't like that a lot of books... I feel like books should use their covers more, because it's the only chance you have to visualize something. If you need to put a summary of your book, put it in here. Or, alternatively, here. Putting summaries on the back, I don't like. Anyway. So yes, Dark Knight, a true Batman story. Now, originally I saw this last week, and I almost immediately grabbed it, because short Batman graphic novel, Batman and Joker on the cover, I can just do those. Those are fine. But then I saw the subtitle, and I was like, oh, what? And then I read the back, and it was about Paul Dini. This is an autobiography. This is an autobiographical story about Paul Dini, it's got parts of his life. Talks a little bit about his childhood and some time afterward and stuff. But this is primarily about spoilers. This is primarily about when he was mugged while working on Batman Mask of the Phantasm. And I did not know that happened. And let me just, before I get into the book itself, let me just talk about my feelings on Paul Dini and as a writer and Batman the Animated Series and stuff. I do enjoy Batman the Animated Series quite a bit. I think it is just a fantastic series in the history of animation. It did a lot of great work. And it's one of the things that I think turned Batman into Bat God. And say what you will about Bat God, but I love Bat God. So it was instrumental in doing that. And Paul Dini, of course, isn't the only one responsible for that. But he was a big part of it. He was a big part of the writing team, and he wrote some of the most famous episodes. That being said, I don't particularly care for Paul Dini's take. Like, I don't really care one way or another for Paul Dini's take on Batman. I think he writes Batman competently, and that's fine. What I don't like is Paul Dini's take on the Joker. And, this makes me question how much of that is him and how much of that was censorship by Warner Brothers wanting a very particular characterization of the Joker. I tend to think more of it's him because I've read other stuff he's written with the Joker and after Batman the Animated Series that doesn't have to be anything like Batman the Animated Series. And so I think that this is just his take on the Joker. Paul Dini writes the Joker in such a way that he does not buy what he is selling. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. I just find it kind of pointless to write the character that way anymore. The way Paul Dini and some other writers like Scott Snyder write the Joker is in such a way that he acts like he's crazy and he does all these like insane schemes really just for his own benefit, but he does them in that way because of his ego, but also in the guise of insanity so he doesn't have to pay for his crimes, is the idea that those two write that character as. Like, the Joker doesn't really want Batman to kill him. He wants to kill Batman. He hates Batman. He wants to kill Batman. He wants money and power and fame. And that's not quite the Joker. It's close, and there are older versions of the character that are that. But I feel the character has moved beyond that and has evolved into something much more terrifying and just frankly more interesting. Now, I respect Paul Dini's take on writing the Joker this way much more than I do Scott Snyder's, because the problem with how Scott Snyder characterizes and writes the Joker is it's okay, it's fine to write the Joker as someone who does not buy what he's selling. But the problem is, you then have to make what he's doing self-serving. So here's what annoys me about Scott Snyder's Joker. That character does not buy what he is selling, but everything he does, literally everything he does, serves no purpose for himself. And that bothers me. It's an inconsistency that doesn't work as well. It's the Joker. It's allowed to be inconsistent. That excuse doesn't work. This is like just a very base thing. Either the Joker is a maniac who is legitimately obsessed with Batman and wants to show him that Batman's wrong, that the Joker is right, and all these other things, these really fascinating ideas that I think are handled beautifully in works like The Dark Knight, to a certain extent The Dark Knight Returns. I can give you a list of them. But anyway, you either write the Joker like that, or you write him as a crook, a very eccentric crook, but that is ultimately out for himself and really doesn't have a spine. Paul Dini writes him that way, that second way. Scott Snyder writes him the first way with the motivations and backing of the second way, and those two are fundamentally opposed, inconsistent characterizations, and just cannot function together in a story, and that's what annoys me about it. But anyway, what makes me wonder about how much of Paul Dini's take on the Joker is what we saw him do in things like the animated series or Sleigh Ride, the comic. Milan did a motion comic of that. I did too, but Milan's is better because it has Lord Chaser doing the voice acting as opposed to me. I'll try to remember to leave a link in the comments below. Description. I'll try to remember to leave a link to that in the description so you can see something else, Paul Dini's take on the Joker. What makes me question if that is truly his take is now this. Because what Paul Dini describes in this and how he has the artist visualize it is that his whole life he has had a very vivid, very active imagination and sees these characters and converses and thinks about and talks with these characters as if they're in the room. And I don't have that quite, but I've had it at times where I can so understand and imagine and be around this character mentally that I can see them personified in the room. I could totally understand where he's coming from with that. And the way he writes the Joker in this, the way he, if we take him at his word, the way he thinks of the Joker being around him, that's the Joker. And so maybe it's a situation where he knows how the Joker actually thinks, but the best he can do in his writing is to just take the out that he doesn't really mean it. Or maybe it's the studios and stuff just wanting him to write the Joker in that way, wanting that version of the Joker around. It's hard to tell. But it's an interesting possibility. So there's just some general thoughts on Paul Dini as a writer. And now I'm going to use that to transition to the book itself. So with those general thoughts, yeah, I decided not to pick it up last week just because, I'm not a big Paul Dini guy, so I didn't think I'd enjoy it. Again, this is here by popular demand. Connor Nielsen left a comment. Hi, Connor. How's it going? Connor Nielsen left a comment saying, "Oh, you should review Dark Knight, a true Batman story." I get the name. Maybe a better title that hasn't been used as much. There's like 4 or 5 different Dark Knight Batman things at this point. Anyway, Connor left a comment asking me to review this, and then 2 other people seconded it, or one person seconded it, and then one person thirded it, I guess. Anyway, so I decided to pick it up. Thank you, guys. This was incredible. I don't really want to talk about the story in it, though, because it's just so damn emotional, and so much of it just works in the moment and sells itself to you so well that I don't want to take that from you. So I'm going to try not to describe the story and just describe my feelings on the book. And that makes it harder to do. So bear with me here. I've only read one other thing that is this damn honest, this damn genuine, and that is Persepolis. Those are really, really good graphic novels by I'm gonna butcher her name. Margine Satrapi. I think I said that right. About her growing up during the Iranian Revolution. And those are fantastic books, and they're so just honest and genuine, and it's really an emotional read because you are 100% in her head. She doesn't hold anything back. With this, you are 100% in Paul Dini's head. He does not hold anything back from you. You are there to... He opens himself up to all kinds of judgment. He tells you things that are just ugly things about himself that he is not proud of. And he leaves you to experience that. He's like, here's some shit that I did in my life, and I'm ashamed of myself for it. But I've moved on. I've learned how to deal with it. These are the experiences that I've had in my life. These are the things that I'm afraid of. And this is how I cope with them. This is how I've thought. This is how I think. This is everything about my life that I don't really bring out and project to the public, but here you go now. There's nothing that feels calculated. Like, you read biographies or autobiographies even. You know, we're in an election year. This happens. Where the people running for office will release, like, an autobiography, and it'll have some, like, you know, here's a mistake I made in my life that I've learned from. But it's always very calculated. It's always very cold. And they kind of tend to use it to branch out to a different point on a wider context. And they don't really use it for self-reflection in any deep and meaningful way. This does. There is nothing political. There is nothing calculated about this book. This is just a confession. This is just a man really pouring out his soul about a really messed up period in his life and what he did to deal with it. And it is inspiring. It is frightening. It's incredibly emotional. It is an incredibly emotional experience. And I'm going to end it right there, because otherwise I'm just going to want to talk about this scene, this scene, and this scene. But that being said, I have got to talk about one scene. So before I do that, I'm going to say go ahead and pause or end the video right here if you haven't read this yet, and then you can come back to it once you have. But do go read it. Do go buy it. It's worth it. How much did I spend on this? Let's see here. $22.99. Yeah, that's not too bad. And, like, you're getting a really good, graphic novel. Nice, quick read. Beautiful cover without the dust jackets. I think that's all worth it. Anyway, go pick it up. It's worth your while, I promise. And then there's just really cool art. But the way he writes the Joker is great too, and it's a really haunting version of the Joker. But anyway, I wanted to talk about this one specific scene. So if you've already read this, you can continue watching. If you haven't read it yet, but I've sold you on it, go get it now. See ya. Okay, so this scene I absolutely adore. And I can't believe it didn't happen. I'm like, come on, why wasn't this a thing? This should have been a thing. Because it's Paul Dini pitching an episode of Batman the Animated Series with the Sandman and Death in it. Why wasn't that a thing? What the hell? That would have been like his pitch. You could put Morpheus Sandman in a fucking McDonald's commercial and I would burst into tears. You could, I don't think it's possible to write a bad Sandman story. I think Sandman is just a character whose own magic and wonder and beauty makes you a better writer. I don't think it's conceivable for anyone to write a bad Sandman story because it just brings out the best in you by the nature of what it is. That's a hard image to look at again. Sorry, I closed the book. I shouldn't have done stat. So yeah, we get this Sandman bit. Oh, wait, this is where he's talking to all Batman's villains. Yeah, we get this Sandman story. And it's only, really, Sandman's only on the book for 2 pages. Let me count the panels here. You got death for 2 pages. 1, 2, 6. You got 6 panels with death. And 6 panels with Sandman. And it's the best part of the book. How is that even possible? That's really funny. But it's just so good. So the story that Dini pitched with Sandman is all of Batman's villains team up and lure him into a trap. And Batman barely survives the encounter, and he's like hanging from the side of a building, almost dying. And then Death shows up, and she's calls him the cheater and that he's dodged her for the last time. But then Morpheus appears. He tells his sister that Batman is his guest in his realm, and he asks Death to spare him for now. Of course, Batman has no idea what these two are talking about. He only knows he's in the middle of some insane dream brought about by his injuries. Death's not happy, but family is family, so she hangs back while Morpheus tells Batman he is responsible for more dreams than he knows. Dreams of Batman in all forms pervade human minds. Acting like a ghost out of Dickens' A Christmas Carol, Morpheus shows Batman how his image haunts the dreams of the wicked, scaring more than a few of them into giving up crime. The Sandman also reveals how Batman has instilled dreams of hope in the people he's saved. In his own way, Batman is a powerful agent of the dreaming. These revelations are the things Batman admits he may have felt on some level, but he's always pushed them aside in his mind in order to concentrate on his mission. Morpheus tells Batman he stands at a crossroads. He can follow Death to eternal rest, or he can allow Morpheus to wake him. Neither choice is wrong, but only Batman may make the choice. Batman knows waking means he will have to deal with pain, but he also knows he will heal. He chooses to live. There's a bright light and Batman recoils in pain. God damn. I don't even think Neil Gaiman deserves credit for creating Sandman. I think that character made himself. And just took a hold of, just said, hey Gaiman, let me borrow your hands for like 10 years. You're going to write some stories about me. And no, if you read Morpheus in the Sandman book, it's really what happens. And I'm just so glad that character is in the world because, oh man, some of the most personal, most touching stories you'll read. If you are a comic fan and you've never read any Sandman, what are you doing listening to me? Go read it. You should have, first of all, shame on you because you should have read Sandman in this before watching this part of the video. But what can you do? I just want to talk briefly about the art. As I do like the art in this. The art is good. I'm not going to try to deny that. It is, like, really, for some of the stuff that that Dini is talking about dealing with in this, it has kind of a haunting quality to it and a dreamlike, imagined state to it at times. And that's good, but, and this is an important but, with how much of this is about Batman the Animated Series and what was going on with Dini during that, I really wish he'd gotten Bruce Timm to draw it. That would have made this in some way, like, it's still very, very powerful, and the art is very, very good on just a technical level, and it does well to communicate all the emotions Dini is trying to get across. But with Bruce Timm and Paul Dini kind of being the guys behind Batman the Animated Series in a lot of ways, I really think that it would have made the story play even better than it does if he'd gotten Bruce Timm to draw it in the style of the DCAU. Maybe that's just me. For those of you that have read it, please comment on what you think of that idea for the art, because I don't know, I feel like it would have added another layer of commentary to this whole meta fiction that's going on with this. And just generally, it's always interesting to read an autobiography in graphic novel form, because it gives people the chance to do things I don't think you can do in normal autobiographies. But yeah, really, really good read. Incredibly insightful. Made me like Paul Dini as a writer maybe a little bit more than I did before. His stuff has always been good, but just not quite to my taste. But now I've got kind of a newfound respect and a newfound insight into him as a writer, and I find that really fascinating. Okay, everyone, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Comic Reviews. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any suggestions for single issues that are coming out month to month you would like me to pick up, please leave those in the comments below. I'm still keeping an eye out for some other things people requested, though I forgot to today. I apologize. So, yes, if you have any suggestions for single issue books that are coming out week to week, month to month, please leave those in the comments below. I will pick up at least one issue and give you my thoughts on it. If you have any suggestions for trades or graphic novels for me to pick up, please leave those in the comments below, and I promise I'll keep my eyes open for them. Alright, that'll do it, though. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Bye.